everyone, what's up and welcome to this new video. You've been asking me to do some more like long form book content because I'm mostly doing like short form videos on TikTok and Instagram, so I thought I'm just gonna do a little reading wrap up of all the books that I've read in January and in February. I thought I'm just gonna do like quick summaries or reviews of those books, talking a bit about those. Some of them are still a while ago, so I don't know what they are about like in details, but I did like some reviews on my other social media accounts, and I also wrote some reviews on Goodreads. Let me just show you all the books that I've read in January and February. I think it's like 9 books in total. I couldn't read more because Iron Flame and Fourth Wing, those books are long as hell and they took a while to read. Let's just get into more details. Okay, so the first book that I've read in 2024 was The Graham Effect by Elle Kennedy. If you might know me, I absolutely love Elle Kennedy and I've been a huge fan of the Off-Campus series. This series now is a second generation series. So for example, in Off-Campus, the first book, the deal is about Garrett Graham and Hannah Wellesley. And this book now is about their daughter, Chi Graham. And to be honest, I didn't know what to expect from this book because the Off-Campus series was already so good. So I've been a bit scared, but this book, it was so freaking good. So let's just talk what this book is about. On the one hand, we have Chi Graham. She's an ice hockey player like her dad, obviously, and her goal is to win an Olympic gold medal, since she's a woman and she can't win the Stanley Cup because it's only for men. Bruh. And on the other hand, there's Luke Ryder. He's also an ice hockey player and his goal is to become captain of his team. And Garrett Graham also has an important role in this book because he has this summer camp and he's always choosing one ice hockey player to assist him. And Luke Ryder wants to be this person. And Chi and Ryder, they know each other from when they were younger. I'm not quite sure, but Ryder was at like some sort of like hockey training camp, whatever, and Chi has been there, and Ryder just tried to be a bit bossy and be like, yeah, get off the ice, otherwise we'll piss off Garrett Graham. And Chi was just like playing with him. Yeah, he just assumed that she's a figure skater, and yeah, then he realized that she's the daughter of Garrett Graham. So as you can might assume, we have the enemies to lovers trope here in this book. And they two get reunited because they need each other's help. Because Ryder, on the one hand, he messed up a bit and Garrett Graham now has not the best opinion about him. So Ryder wants to change Garrett's opinion about him. And on the other hand, Chi, she has some struggles with like playing the puck behind the net. So Chi helps Ryder by just like saying good things in front of her dad, so her dad might consider choosing Ryder for his assistant. And Ryder helps Chi by improving her skills on the ice. And this book was a straight up 5 out of 5 stars book for me. It was so good, like the whole storyline, the spice and the character development. I absolutely loved it. And Elle Kennedy is also one of those authors I would buy blindly any book and I would know that it'd be really, really good. And the thing that is just really great about this book is the tension between Chi and Ryder, because it's so good and it helps when it comes to those spicy scenes. And we have quite a few spicy scenes, let's just say. I would give this like 3.5 or 4 out of 5 chilies. But it wasn't too much, because when it comes to spice, it's always like a thin line when it comes to being straight up porn and still having a storyline. And we have a really good storyline here. And the spice was just extremely hot, okay? And one thing I have to highlight is the storyline, because the storyline, it wasn't too long, it was just perfect. And also when it comes to books, sometimes in the end, the characters achieve everything that they wanted. And not to spoil or anything, but here it's just like certain things that the characters couldn't achieve until now, but maybe they do in the future. I mean, if there would be a second part, this would be like perfect. And one thing which is also really important for me is that you can definitely see a character development for both of them, because you get to know some things about their struggles in life and how they try to improve it and open up, especially when it comes to Ryder and his story. And for all the fans of the deal, if you loved Garrett Graham before, you will love him here because he's a really overprotective dad. So yeah, absolutely love this book. Let's just get to the next one. My second book of 2024 was The Predator. First, I have to say, I didn't know that there's a second book. So in my opinion, it's hard to review it when you haven't read the second one, but I'm just trying to give you a little review based on only this one, because the storyline continues in the second book. In my opinion, Runnings could have just done only like one big book instead of like 2. I have to say, I'm a huge fan of mafia romances and also mafia dog romance books. So this is one of them. And when it comes to storyline, on the one hand we have Tristan Kane, on the other hand there's Morana Vitalio, and both mafia families are huge rivals. Morana gets the task to kill Tristan Kane, so she just like shows up at his house, and let's just say it wasn't working how she expected it to be. And let's just say Tristan also had a lot of opportunities to kill her, so she's just wondering why he hasn't killed her, and he's always saying like, okay, no one gets to kill you, the only person that will kill you will be me. And he's saying this throughout the whole book. When it comes to this book, a thing that threw me off a bit is that we don't have POVs, because the narration is from like a third person perspective, and I'm absolutely not a fan of it, because usually when you have a third person narrating a book, we get to know more about both protagonists. But here it feels like we only get to know things about Morana and not so much about Tristan. So I would have preferred a POV from Morana, or just like a dual POV. And that's also why I didn't get to enjoy this book so much, because it was just throwing me off so much while reading. And I gave this book only 2.5 out of 5 stars, because there was just so many things that were annoying me. And also when it comes to the spice, I would give it 2 out of 5 chilies, because it's not a lot in it. And for me it's always important when you have enemies to lovers kind of thing, that the tension is really good. And I mean, yeah, there was a good tension, but I think like compared to other books, for example to The Graham Effect, there was just something missing. It wasn't working out how I wished it would be. And one thing is that Book Talk is kind of glorifying Tristan Kane, and I mean, yeah, what I really liked is his story, because he has a fascinating history which was really excited to get to know him about, but I think there will be more in the second book. So yeah, I like Tristan Kane. I also like Morana because she's one of those like more strong female protagonists, but there was just something in this book that wasn't working for me. So I think I might just have to read the second book so I can get like a total review, because this book ends with a cliffhanger. I would say this is a good book if you're new to dark romance. It's not too dark, we have kind of like this mafia aspect, so if you're trying to get more into dark romance, I would recommend, but in total I wouldn't read this book again because of like the narration. And the next book is In Your Wildest Dream by Rebecca Jenschik. I feel like this book is still like kind of a secret and not so well known like other books. And yeah, it's an ice hockey book. I'm a huge fan of ice hockey romances. I've seen one TikTok about this book, and just like this video, it already convinced me to buy this book, and I didn't regret it at all. The main protagonists in this book are Ash Kelly, he's a pro ice hockey player, and on the other hand there's Bridget, and she's a nurse. And Bridget is at one of Ash's team's games with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend is a total dick. And when Ash is warming up, he spots Bridget in the crowd, and he can also see that her boyfriend is a dickhead. So he's hitting on her. And this is the first scene in this book, and also that convinced me to read this book, because Ash asks Bridget if that's her boyfriend. Bridget is just like a bit confused why he's talking to her, because she's asking, shouldn't you be, I don't know, skating around? And Ash replies best, because he says, can't, I just met my future wife and I need to know if she's single. I mean, if this isn't romantic, then I don't know. And Ash is really desperate and tries to get her number, but she refuses. So from this point on, Ash is looking for Bridget at every game and just like hoping that she will visit again. And they get reunited because Ash is getting injured at one of his games, and then he gets delivered into the hospital. And yeah, as I already said, Bridget is a nurse. So it turns out Bridget is Ash's nurse. So Ash is shooting his shot and hitting on Bridget again. I don't want to spoil more about this book, just read by yourself so you find out what it is about. I gave this book 4.5 out of 5 stars, and also spice wise I would give it like, I don't know, 3 out of 5 chilies. And the thing that I love about this book is that we have an he falls first, and he falls really hard. And that's the thing that I loved about this book, because while reading you were just like constantly hoping, okay, Bridget, come on, like give Ash a chance, come on. So yeah, great book, definitely recommend. And now let's just talk about Fourth Wing. I felt like I've been the last person that read this book because everyone was talking about it, and I have to say I've been a bit scared to read this book because it's just overly hyped, and I don't know why, but that usually makes me skeptic and sometimes not make me want to read a book. But since I already bought those books and I had them at home, I had to read them. I have to say I'm not a huge fantasy reader, so I'm glad that this was more of like a romantasy. So let's just talk about what it is about. So I have Violet Sorrengail. She's the daughter of the general commander, and yeah, she just gets forced by her mom to get into this Rhino Quadrant where they like train new riders for this war thing. And Violet always thought that she would get into the scribe quadrant, which she also trained for, because she's really small and weak and not like this typical dragon rider, and it's quite a challenge for her because they have to master different challenges and tasks. If they don't make it, they just die. So they kind of just get trained. In the end, their goal is to getting picked by a dragon. And then there's Satan Ryerson, and everyone is talking about Satan Ryerson, but for a reason. What we have here is an enemies to lovers, and also this is super slow burn, and I'm usually not a huge fan of slow burn, but here it definitely works because the tension is so good. They hate each other. They're always like trying to make life for the other person as hard as possible. What I really love is that Satan is giving Violet a nickname, which is Violence. These are just like cute things that I really appreciate when it comes to a good book. And as I already mentioned, the tension between both protagonists is just phenomenal. So is this book worth the hype? I would say definitely. This book was really, really great. I'm not a huge fan of dragons and fantasy, but here, this book is really, really good. The storyline, the tension, it was just fascinating. I couldn't stop reading because it's just amazing. I've rated this book a 5 out of 5 stars, and for the spice I would give it 2 out of 5 chilies. And now let's get to the next book. And nope, it wasn't Iron Flame. I put one book in between, which was A Game of Fate by Scarlett Sinclair. And I love modern retellings of Greek mythology, and Hades and Persephone are just like my favorite couple. I adore the A Touch of series. I just got delivered A Touch of Chaos, which came out on March 12th. And A Game of Fate is like the first book, A Touch of Darkness, but A Touch of Darkness is in Persephone's POV and A Game of Fate is in Hades' POV. So if you don't know A Touch of Darkness, I might give you like a little summary what this book is about. So Persephone gets into Hades' nightclub and they're gambling, and when you're gambling with Hades and you're losing, you always have like one task to finish. So Persephone's task is to create life in the underworld, and since she's the goddess of spring, she tries to like create plants and flowers and all this stuff, but her struggle is that she can't control her magic because her mother was always holding her back a bit. And Persephone doesn't live this typical goddess lifestyle. She's just living a normal lifestyle, and she's working as a journalist. So since she has this task or deal with Hades going on, she also tries to get to know him better and write like an article about him. And Hades always gets portrayed as this cruel and harsh king of the underworld, but as Persephone gets to know him better, she finds out that he also has a loving and kind side to him. If you love The Touch of Darkness, you definitely should read A Game of Fate, because I mean, yeah, Persephone's POV is great, but also Hades' POV, I mean, you have to love this book. And let's be honest, male POVs always slap a bit harder. And I thought, okay, is it really worth it to read this one? Do we get to know more things? And I would say yes, definitely. You get to know more things about why Hades acted the way he did and how certain things to the storyline just like are connected. So I absolutely enjoyed reading Hades' POV. And the spice, it was phenomenal. It was a lot, yeah, but I think it just works for both of them. I don't know, I love the spice in Scarlett Sinclair's books, because a lot of spice is totally fine if you have a good storyline, and we have a really good storyline here. I rated this book a 5 out of 5 stars, and for the spice I gave it 4 out of 5 chilies. So I just can say, please read this series, it's so good, and I can't wait to read A Touch of Chaos. So now it's time for Iron Flame. And let's be aware that this is the second part of the series, and it might include some spoilers if you haven't read Fourth Wing so far. I mean, how could this book be bad when you have two protagonists like Satan and Violet? So in this book, Violet is now at her second year at Basquiat, or however this academy college thing is correctly pronounced. So in this book, the training continues, and also the training with her dragon, or spoiler, dragons. I can't say too much about what it is about because it would spoiler so much from Fourth Wing. But I can say that Satan and Violet are now more of like the same page, but they also have some struggles in the beginning, and it also takes a while here until there's something romantic happening. And I have to say, I don't mind it because both protagonists just have like some things that they have to work on before they can just be together or build like more of a bond. So this was really important for the character development, in my opinion. I have to say, when it comes to storyline, I liked Fourth Wing a bit more because we're more in this academy setup. Here it is a mix between academy and like some other thing going on, which which might be refreshing, but I actually liked the academy thing. So the first 300 pages, I absolutely loved it. And there were just so many things that got revealed and was just like blowing my mind, and I've been like, okay, what is going on now? What? And when it comes to the second half to this book, it was a bit confusing because there are just like so many new characters getting introduced into the storyline, and sometimes I just couldn't remember who's the person, what is his role, what the freak is just going on right now. So the second part, when they're out of the academy, it was just a lot of information. And as you can see, this book is really long. I think it has like 250,000 words, and it took me a while to read. And I think this book could have been shortened because I think between like page 400 something and 500 there were just like some things where I've been like, okay, yeah, we get it now, let's get to the point. And that's why I only gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. And when it comes to spice, I also gave it 2 out of 5 chilies. And I've been scared for the end of this book because so many told me that they were crying, and I mean, yeah, there was something sad happening, but I kind of expected it. But it was just like a really nice ending for this book. But I'm dead scared for the third book because some of you told me that Rebecca Yarros doesn't have a problem with killing their darlings. So if there are like certain characters dying, I think I will freak out. Okay, next book was Neon Gods. This is the German version. This is the 5th part out of the series. The English title is Cruel Seduction. I've read the first and the second book from the Neon Gods series. I really love them. I have to say I've been a bit scared to read this one because we have 4 protagonists. It's about Aphrodite, Hephaestus, Adonis, and Pandora. But it makes sense here. And we also get 4 POVs. So the storyline is that Aphrodite is marrying Hephaestus because she kind of has to save her city. You will find out why when you read it. But Aphrodite and Hephaestus, they hate each other. What you have to understand is that Aphrodite, Hephaestus, and all those people, this is kind of like a position. And once like the Aphrodite dies, there's another person filling up with this position, if this makes sense. Hephaestus killed the old Hephaestus just so he could be the new Hephaestus and be one of the gods. It sounds a bit confusing, but you will find it out. But the thing is that Aphrodite also has feelings for Adonis. They've been having kind of like an on and off relationship for a while, but Aphrodite is obviously now married to Hephaestus. And when it comes to Hephaestus, we also have Pandora. They both know each other since they are children because they've both been adopted by the same man. So since Aphrodite and Hephaestus hate each other, they're just trying to pay back to each other and do like this revenge thing. So Aphrodite is seducing Pandora, but she's not the only one with this plan because Hephaestus also has something going on with Adonis. So we don't just have like a love triangle, we kind of have a love quadrant. So in this book we kind of have a polyamory relationship going on. This was something that I've never read before, but it was just working perfectly in this book. And due to the 4 POVs, it was also just like really nice to see like the situation going on through like one of those characters. So I rated this book a 4 out of 5 stars and 4 out of 5 chilies for the spice because this is super spicy, okay? There's also like a bit of kinky stuff going on. Just read it, okay? Now this is a book that I've been really excited about because I received an ARC of Where's Molly by H.G. Carlton. I felt super honored that I got chosen to get one of these, and I loved every second of it. As you might know, I'm a huge fan of the Cat and Mouse duet, and this is kind of like a cat and mouse spin-off. So if you might remember, in Hunting Adeline, Adeline finds this journal during her time when she's been captured in Francesca's house, and this journal is from Molly because she's also been into human trafficking and she escaped, and the journal also helped Adeline to escape. So Where's Molly is about Molly's story now. And here we have some time jumps because we get to know some things about the situation with her family and her little sister, like before she's been into human trafficking, while she is, and also the present. So after Molly escaped, she kind of lives like a ghost and no one basically knows that she's even alive. She kind of disappeared, and there's a man that helped her to disappear, and let's just say she might get reunited with him in the present because she lives on a farm with her pigs and she's working with an organization, and they're always delivering like dead people to her, and she feeds those people to her pigs. So one time there is Cage delivering those people and they know each other, and from that point on this old story is kind of getting warmed up again, and also they have feelings. I have to say H.G. Carlton is the queen of dark romance for a reason because this book is super dark. So definitely check the trigger warnings, because we get some breath play, also some blood play, and it is intense. And I absolutely love the storyline, the tension. It was just so fascinating getting to know more about like Molly's past and also about Cage. And we also get a nickname for Molly. This is just like a novella, so it's a really small book and it's not too much spice, but the spice is intense. And it's just awesome, okay? And when it comes to spice, holy mother of God. Because H.G. Carlton definitely knows how to write some spicy scenes. And she also definitely has a thing for belts. There are just like so many quotable things in this book. And also Cage, he has a filthy mouth. I just love him. H.G. Carlton male characters are just like, oh, the best. It's actually really sad that this book is only a novella with about 200 pages, because I would have loved to get to know more about Molly and Cage and maybe some more things that happen in the present. So I rated this book a 5 out of 5 stars, and for the spice I gave it 4 out of 5 chilies. I also have Does It Hurt here. This is another H.G. Carlton book that I haven't read, and I'm really excited for this one. And the last book is Breakaway by Grace Riley. This is another ice hockey romance, and I really wish that I would love this book, but I didn't. But what is it about? It's about Penny and Cooper. Penny used to be a figure skater, but she got injured, so she had to stop it. But she's still teaching like young kids to learn ice skating. And on the other hand, there's Cooper. He's an ice hockey player and he's playing at the team where Penny's dad is the coach. The main storyline is that Cooper is on kind of like a dry spell. Cooper hasn't had sex in like a long time, and he thinks that that's affecting his game and how he plays due to all the stress. I don't think that there's a connection, but okay. And on the other hand, Penny, she has like a list of all the things that she wants to do like in bed since she's been through a bad breakup. Yeah, and that's already the storyline, because the main thing is about sex. I really like the idea of like this list, but it just wasn't well executed. You're kind of like jumping from each spicy scene to the next, and there's no real tension going on between both protagonists. So yeah, it is a lot of spice, but compared to Icebreaker, where we also get a lot of spice, there isn't like a real plot going on, and there are just like so many things lacking here. And usually when I read, I get a lot of butterflies, but here, nothing. I don't know why. And until now, every ice hockey romance that I've read, it was freaking amazing, but this one, I don't know. And as I already said, the storyline just felt really flat. The beginning felt rushed until there was like the first spicy action going on, and I just couldn't feel any sexual tension going on between them. I also couldn't picture the characters while reading. So when it comes to tropes, we kind of have the forbidden romance trope here, since Cooper's coach is Penny's dad. So I rated this book 2 out of 5 stars, and for the spice I would give it 4 out of 5 chilies. I mean, maybe you like it, I don't know, I don't want to bash, this is just like my honest opinion. So now that I've showed you all the books that I've read, I have to say my highlight was definitely The Graham Effect by Elle Kennedy. It was just refreshing and it was so good. And don't get me wrong, Fourth Wing was also freaking amazing, but like ice hockey romance just have a special place in my heart. And my biggest disappointment was definitely Breakaway by Grace Riley. I had so much hope into this book and I just got disappointed. So thank you for watching this video. Also, please let me know what you think about those books. Have you read these books? Can you recommend similar ones? I'm really curious about this. And I would also really appreciate it if you could give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel. So see you next time.